Most people believe that a lack of discipline is a flaw, a personal weakness that separates the successful from the unsuccessful, the driven from the distracted. We glorify those who seem endlessly motivated, who wake up early, stick to routines, and never seem to lose focus. And when we can't match that image, we blame ourselves. We call it laziness, inconsistency, or lack of willpower. But this entire way of thinking is wrong. It's not just misguided, it's scientifically inaccurate, because what we call discipline goes completely against the way the human brain is wired to operate. And this isn't a metaphor. It's a biological fact. Your brain was never built to prioritize long-term goals, delayed rewards, or abstract ambitions like success, mastery, or self-improvement. It was built to keep you alive. For millions of years, our ancestors didn't need discipline. They needed efficiency. They needed to save energy, avoid pain, and seek quick, guaranteed rewards. That's why food tastes better than fasting, why sleep feels safer than discomfort, and why the couch always wins against the gym. Your brain isn't lazy. It's efficient, perfectly adapted for a world that no longer exists. But here's the conflict. Modern life demands the opposite of what evolution designed you for. We live in a world that rewards patience, consistency, and long-term vision. Our jobs, our health, our dreams, they all depend on the ability to act today for a reward that may come months or years later. So every time you try to be disciplined, you are, in essence, fighting against millions of years of programming. And that's a battle you can't win through willpower alone. The problem isn't that you lack motivation. It's that you've been using the wrong strategy, trying to overpower biology instead of understanding it. But what if you could turn that same biology into an ally? What if you could make your brain want to be disciplined, not by forcing it, but by designing your life around how it actually works? In the next few moments, we'll explore exactly that. How to stop blaming yourself for being human, how to outsmart your instincts, and how to build a system where doing the right thing becomes the easiest thing. Because the secret to discipline isn't about control. It's about design. Your brain has one primary mission: to keep you alive with the least amount of effort possible. That's it. Everything else, your goals, ambitions, dreams, are modern inventions layered on top of an ancient operating system that still thinks you're living in the wilderness. For our ancestors, conserving energy meant survival. Every decision was measured against one question: will this help me see tomorrow? Hunting, gathering, and finding shelter already required enormous effort. So the brain evolved a simple rule: avoid unnecessary pain, seek immediate reward. This is why today, when you plan to wake up early, study, or go to the gym, something inside you resists. It whispers, stay in bed. Scroll for a minute. You've worked hard enough. It's not sabotage, it's protection. Your brain believes it's saving you from wasted energy, from discomfort, from risk. This ancient code still drives your modern habits. You reach for your phone because dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, arrives instantly. You delay your work because rest feels safe and familiar. You overthink decisions because hesitation once meant survival. The same instincts that once protected you now quietly undermine your progress. And here's the real twist: your brain isn't rational. It's efficient. It doesn't choose what's best for your future. It chooses what costs the least energy right now. Neuroscientists call this cognitive ease, the tendency of the mind to follow the path of least resistance. This isn't a flaw. It's a feature. A shortcut evolved to save energy in dangerous, uncertain environments. But in the modern world, this mechanism works against us. Because growth, learning, and mastery all demand discomfort, the very thing your brain avoids. So you find yourself stuck between two instincts: the ancient one that wants comfort and survival, and the modern one that craves purpose and progress. Every act of procrastination, every broken promise to yourself, isn't proof of weakness, it's proof of design conflict. You're running 21st century goals on a prehistoric operating system. And here's the truth. You can't delete that system. You can't simply will your way past it. But you can learn to work with it, to trick it, to rewire it, to make its instincts serve you instead of stop you. Because once you understand that your resistance isn't moral, but biological, discipline stops being a battle of willpower and becomes a game of design. For most of us, discipline feels like a constant inner battle, a daily war between what we want now and what we know we should do. We wake up promising ourselves that this time will be different, that today we'll resist temptation, stay focused, and finally take control. But as the hours pass, that promise begins to fade. By nightfall, we surrender again, scrolling, postponing, escaping, and then comes the guilt. We tell ourselves we're weak, lazy, inconsistent. But that guilt is misplaced. Because what we call lack of discipline is not failure. It's simply poor design. You see, most people still believe that discipline is about force, that if you just push hard enough, shout at yourself loud enough, or find enough motivation, you can overpower your instincts. But that's not how the human brain works. When you try to build discipline through sheer willpower, you're attempting to override millions of years of programming with a few lines of self-help slogans. And eventually, your biology wins. Because no matter how inspired you feel on a good day, fatigue always comes. And when you're tired, your brain goes back to autopilot. And autopilot always chooses the easiest path. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, said it best. Real discipline doesn't come from force. It comes from design. The most consistent people you know aren't necessarily stronger, smarter, or more motivated than you. They've simply built systems that make the right behavior the default choice. Systems where discipline happens automatically. They don't fight their brain. They manipulate it. Their environments are crafted to guide behavior effortlessly. The book sits open on the desk. The gym clothes are waiting by the bed, notifications are turned off, and distractions are out of reach. They don't waste energy deciding what to do because their surroundings have already made that decision for them. Discipline, in truth, is not a test of strength. It's a test of structure. When your systems are weak, even the strongest willpower collapses. But when your systems are strong, even the smallest effort compounds. The illusion is that disciplined people are superhuman. The reality is that they're engineers, quietly designing environments that make good behavior inevitable. The real question isn't, how do I force myself to be disciplined? It's how can I redesign my life so that discipline happens naturally? If discipline begins to crumble when willpower fades, then the real question becomes, where does our behavior actually come from? Most people think it's born inside of them. That self-control is an inner strength, a moral muscle you can flex when temptation appears. But that idea couldn't be further from the truth, because in reality, your environment, the space around you, is the silent architect of almost everything you do. Look around. Every choice you make today will be shaped by what's closest, easiest, and most visible. You eat what's on the counter. You watch what's on the home screen. You scroll because your phone is already in your hand. It's not that you chose these things consciously. They were simply there, waiting, frictionless. The author James Clear calls this choice architecture, the design of surroundings that influence decisions without you even noticing. And once you understand that, the illusion of discipline begins to collapse. Imagine this. You wake up determined to start working out. You're motivated, ready. But your gym clothes are buried somewhere in the drawer, your shoes are in the trunk of your car, it's cold outside, and your phone, glowing beside your bed, is already open to Instagram. Now the choice isn't between good and bad. It's between what's visible and easy, and what's hidden and hard. And the brain, we've learned, always chooses ease. So you don't fail because you lack discipline. You fail because your environment is designed for distraction. The solution isn't to try harder. It's to set traps, not for your weaknesses, but for your future success. Want to read more? Leave the book on your bed. Want to study? Keep your desk clean and your notes already open. Want to stop scrolling? Leave your phone in another room. Want to work out? Lay your clothes beside your alarm clock, so the first thing you see in the morning isn't a notification, it's a decision. Because the people who appear disciplined aren't stronger. They're just better designers. They've removed the obstacles, reduced the friction, and made the right behavior the easiest option available. That's the secret no one talks about. Discipline isn't born from effort. It's born from preparation. When the environment is right, your brain doesn't need convincing. It simply follows the path already laid out for it. Soft music swells, hopeful tone. Scenes of minimalist spaces, sunlight, and quiet order. So instead of forcing yourself to act differently, begin shaping your surroundings so they act for you. Because once your environment supports your goals, discipline becomes the default, and the right choice becomes effortless. By now, you understand that your brain prefers the path of least resistance. It seeks ease, not effort, predictability, not challenge. And while that might seem like an obstacle, it's actually your greatest opportunity, because hidden inside that instinct lies the key to effortless discipline. Habit stacking. Every day, your brain runs thousands of automatic scripts, tiny loops of behavior triggered by cues you no longer even notice. You brush your teeth after waking up. You check your phone when you sit down. You make coffee as soon as you step into the kitchen. None of these actions require willpower. They simply happen, automatically, rhythmically, like breathing. Now imagine if you could take those existing habits and attach new, intentional behaviors to them, to hijack your brain's autopilot and make it work for your goals instead of against them. That's the power of habit stacking. The method is simple but profound. After an existing habit, something you already do without thinking, you insert a new action you want to develop. For example, after brushing your teeth, meditate for 2 minutes. After pouring your morning coffee, write one sentence in your journal. After closing your laptop at night, read one page of a book. By linking the new habit to an old one, you eliminate the hardest part of discipline, starting. Because your brain doesn't need to make a new decision. The cue already exists. The routine already has momentum. Once you're in motion, inertia does the rest. This is how you bypass resistance. You're not building discipline from scratch. You're layering it onto behaviors your mind already trusts. Neuroscientists call this neural coupling, when two actions become linked so tightly in your mind that one automatically triggers the other. Over time, this connection becomes effortless, and what was once a choice becomes instinct. But here's the secret. You must start small, smaller than you think. Your new habit should take less than 2 minutes. It must be specific, not vague. Read a page, not read more. Write one line, not become a writer. When the action is too small to fail, the brain stops resisting. And as these small stacks begin to build, they connect like dominoes, tiny actions forming an entire network of discipline. Before you realize it, your habits no longer require effort. They've become part of who you are. This is how disciplined people operate. Not through force, but through sequence. Not by fighting their instincts, but by reprogramming them. Because once your habits stack, discipline becomes automatic, and progress becomes inevitable. We use the word procrastination as if it were a confession, a declaration of guilt, of weakness, of failure. We whisper it with shame, as though putting things off is proof that we are broken. But procrastination is not laziness. It's not a lack of ambition. It's not a moral flaw. It's a signal that it's your brain telling you that the system you're using doesn't work. When you procrastinate, it's not because you don't want to act. It's because taking action, in the way your life is currently designed, requires too much effort, offers too little reward, and feels too far removed from pleasure. The brain always chooses the option that provides the fastest, most reliable satisfaction. It doesn't care about what's meaningful. It cares about what's immediate. That's why studying for a future goal feels harder than opening your phone. The reward from learning is distant, abstract, and invisible. The reward from scrolling is instant, colorful, and certain. And in that split second, biology wins. The real cause of procrastination isn't you. It's friction. Too much effort at the start, too little pleasure at the end. And that's where the 4 laws of behavior change come in. James Clear defined them as the foundation for building any lasting habit. Law 1. Make it obvious. If the cue for your desired habit is hidden, your brain will ignore it. What you see shapes what you do. Make your reminders visible. Let your environment speak the language of your goals. Law 2. Make it attractive. The process must create anticipation or enjoyment. Pair the habit with something you love, a song, a ritual, a drink, a moment of peace. Pleasure doesn't corrupt discipline. It sustains it. Law 3. Make it easy. Reduce friction until there's almost none. Shrink the task. Simplify the start. Don't aim for perfect. Aim for possible. Law 4. Make it satisfying. The brain needs closure, a sense of completion, of reward. Without it, habits fade. Mark your progress. Track your streak. Celebrate small wins. Now, imagine applying these laws to something as simple as studying. Your notes are already open on the desk. Obvious. You play your favorite music and make a warm drink. Attractive. You promise to study for just 5 minutes. Easy. And afterward, you cross it off your list and relax. Satisfying. Same person. Same goal. Different design. When the system is right, procrastination disappears. Not through guilt, not through shame, but through structure. Because every time you avoid action, your brain isn't saying, "I'm lazy." It's saying, "This is too hard the way it's set up." Fix the design, and action will follow. There's a popular belief in the self-help world that to be truly disciplined, you have to love the process. You have to fall in love with the grind, find joy in the struggle, and wake up every morning burning with motivation. It sounds noble. It sounds poetic, but it's a lie. The truth is, you don't have to love discipline. You just have to make it inevitable. The most consistent people in the world aren't endlessly inspired. They're not excited every morning. They don't leap out of bed overflowing with passion. They feel the same resistance you do. They just never leave the decision to emotion. Think about it. How often have you told yourself you'll work out when you feel ready? Or start the project when inspiration strikes? But readiness never comes. Because waiting to feel like it is waiting for permission from a brain that evolved to avoid effort. Discipline is not built on feelings. It's built on structure. Imagine 2 versions of you. The first one sets an alarm for 6 a.m., but leaves everything for tomorrow. When the alarm rings, you negotiate 5 more minutes, then 10, then an hour. And the day begins with guilt. The second version does something different. The night before, they leave their running shoes beside the bed. Their phone alarm is across the room, forcing them to stand up to silence it. A playlist is already queued. A friend is waiting at the corner at 6:30 sharp. The route is mapped. Breakfast is ready. Same person, same goals. But in the second story, the decision was already made yesterday. The environment did the heavy lifting. That's the secret of the disciplined. They design systems that work even on bad days. They prepare for the moments when they won't feel motivated. They build rails that guide them forward, so that acting becomes easier than avoiding. Because discipline isn't about loving the process. It's about removing the choice. When you stop asking, "Do I feel like it?" and start building a life where the answer doesn't matter, you've crossed the line from motivation to mastery. James Clear said it best. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So stop waiting for desire to lead you. Desire is fickle. It fades. But structure endures. The disciplined life isn't driven by passion. It's protected by preparation. Discipline was never meant to feel like war. It's not a test of how much pain you can endure or how long you can force yourself to grind before breaking. It's about alignment between your biology, your environment, and your identity, your brain isn't lazy. It's efficient. Every instinct it has to avoid discomfort, to seek pleasure, to conserve energy was designed to keep you alive. The problem is, evolution didn't prepare your mind for the modern world. So, instead of lions and cold nights, you're fighting algorithms and endless dopamine loops. The enemy isn't your willpower. It's your wiring. That's why true discipline isn't about pushing harder. It's about designing smarter. You don't need to overpower your brain. You need to work with it. You can guide it like a river, change its shape, redirect its flow, and suddenly the current moves in your favor. Think of every habit, every environment, every small decision as a piece of architecture. You're not just living inside your routines, you're constructing them. The water bottle on your desk, the phone turned face down, the journal left open. These aren't random details. They're signposts leading you toward the person you want to become. And that's the final truth about discipline. It's not about forcing yourself to be someone you're not. It's about proving, through consistent design, who you already are. Every time you choose structure over chaos, every time you take one small step when it's easier to stay still, that's not willpower. That's identity in motion. So stop fighting your brain. Stop calling yourself lazy or unmotivated. You're simply human, a biological masterpiece built to survive. But survival in this age means something new. It means learning to design your instincts before they design you. If you can make the right choice the easy choice, you've already won. The path of least resistance doesn't have to lead to distraction. It can lead to growth, clarity, and peace. As the video closes, take a breath. Look around your space, your tools, your habits, your systems. They're not fixed. They're waiting for your direction. You don't need to trick your brain anymore. You just need to understand it. So the next time you think discipline is hard, remember, it's not a battle. It's a design.